think you should.
Three, two, one. Welcome back to this week's episode of Whoscussion. I'm your host, That Random Guy, and we've got Harriet Skelly still with us, hopefully. Are you there, Harriet Skelly?
I'm
Major Tom?
still here.
He is still there. All right,
Major Tom to ground control. We are still
Major
here.
Tom to ground control. Actually,
That's just going to make me sad. Don't do that.
I want to do a Rick and Morty podcast at some point because Goodbye
Yes.
Moon Man is so great. Anyway, so we're going to be covering the Children of the Revolution, our next 26B season story, and then we'll be finishing off with the Shadow Traders. I feel real bad, but I'm going to be doing Children of the Revolution. But you know what? It's gonna. It always turns into a back and forward, so you know it will be good. So this is possibly my favorite Dalek story ever.
Yeah,
and
I would definitely feel. Well, I guess actually, probably for me, it's a combination of this and its prequel, The Evil of the Daleks.
yes, so this is a sequel to The Evil of the Daleks, and just wow, just wow. So it starts off as like nothing to do with Daleks, and you like the Daleks are such a beautiful surprise in this because you're like, what's going on? It starts off in this marine
it's a Dalek
ship.
story that doesn't have Dalek in the title.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Do you want to take the hint there, Doctor Who, the television series? So what's funny, though, is the original name for the Dalek story is actually the Mutants, but then they renamed it the Daleks and re-releases. I don't know why. But anyway, Children of the Revolution starts off in a biology chamber. Sorry, not biology, marine biological submarine, and the Doctor's taken Izzy here because he knows a marine biologist who'll be able to help Izzy grow accustomed to her new form. And the Doctor's got some great back and forward with the captain of the ship, Captain Ortago, which I thought was real interesting because I'm pretty certain Ortago is a Māori word. So is he Māori?
He kind of looked like he may have been an islander at least.
Yes, yeah. But he was. I loved him, and he goes. The Doctor brings up time travel and aliens and stuff, and he's like, you know what, Doctor? Have you been smoking the orange stuff that
The orange plankton.
Yeah, the orange plankton that Allison found. He's like, no, and he's like, too bad, it's pretty good. And I was just like, oh, this guy. And he's a real jovial sort. He's having a great time. The Doctor, Izzy, and Allison end up going outside of the submarine. The Doctor's in this really cool suit that does make him look like Buzz Lightyear, which Izzy actually brings up. Oh no, I think she might have been referencing Buzz Aldrin. What year did this come out?
No, she was referencing.
Oh no, she's definitely referencing Buzz Lightyear. Because this came out in 2002. So she comes out, and the Doctor and Allison, they're all out there and they're having a great time. But then this EMP wave comes along and knocks out the ship's engine, and the ship goes down. And the Doctor is actually really sort of out. This is going to sound a little tacky, but he's like a fish out of water in the story. Because he doesn't really know what's going on.
Oh wow, that was a bad.
Yeah, I'm real sorry, but it's true. The Doctor is sort of, he doesn't know what to do this whole story, basically.
Yeah.
And he's grasping at straws the entire story. And basically these Daleks turn up, they capture Izzy, and you're thinking stuff's going to hit the fan here. And the Daleks, the way that they draw them and they color the shots of the Daleks in the beginning show them as so evil. Like, it's so beautiful, and you see the crew getting shot and everything, and you're like, holy crap, stuff's really, really bad right now. And then all of a sudden you find out the crew weren't killed, they were just paralyzed. So that was like a what do they call that? Putting the wool over your eyes as the person reading the comic, because you're like, oh, this is really bad. But they're just like, no, and they're here. They start helping the ship out. They make sure everybody's okay. They make sure the reactor core doesn't explode. And they're like, hey guys, what's going on? And the humans are like, hang on a second, our ancestors fought you guys off. One of the guys mentions that in the university he was taught how to kill Daleks.
Yep.
and use their technology. And so this is obviously it's after the invasion of Earth, so it's after Susan.
I'm pretty sure it's after like the proper Dalek the actual proper invasion of Earth and the proper Dalek human war that happens. There was a couple of comics about that as well. I know the 11th Doctor's been there.
And there's like a huge run back in the days as well with the Dalek human war.
There was a huge run of Doctor Human War stuff. Particularly there was the one, actually, that this kind of reminds me of the One Good Dalek comic story that the 11th Doctor has with Amy Pond and
that's another good comic book story, actually, the One Good Dalek. But this is something else. I really wish Marvel still had the rights to the Doctor Who comics, because they just knock it out of the park. I think there's only been one episode that one story rather that we came across that we weren't fans of. Well, actually, no, you weren't a fan of. I remember now. It was the Asylum for the Robots, which is okay. Yeah. I saw your point of view and I agree with it. And this is just wow. You find out that the Daleks are actually remnants of the Dalek Civil War that the Doctor created in The Evil of the Daleks. And they even show Patrick Troughton. It's really great. And they're led by Alpha, who was the first Dalek to have the human factor. And it's just, I love just how this is all drawn. The callbacks to the series, and it's funny because like a lot of people who worked on this weren't actually familiar with Doctor Who, and I wonder if that was the writer who helped them understand what the iconography should be like, because they really grasped that 60s era Doctor Who, especially as Kakral, the city that they live in. That's so 60s sci-fi, like the bubble houses and the like.
Yeah. When it comes to Marvel's comic renditions of Doctor Who, it's basically they just actually did research about it.
Yeah.
They weren't trying to just pull from nostalgia remembrance of it, unlike a lot of new Doctor Who guys. Come on, they actually have done some research about what these characters are like and some of the previous things that have happened. So instead of them just like trying to do a brand new thing with some nostalgia thrown in, they actually are doing things that are like Doctor Who was and is.
Yeah.
It's how it should have been handled
the old
from the
and new,
beginning.
man, definitely, with the story. Alpha explains to the Doctor that they've created a religion about the Doctor. The Doctor's becoming a god.
The savior.
Yeah, the savior, which was like had my head spinning, because I write a fanatical fiction in which the bad guys are part of a crazed space cult that want to find the savior. So I was like, whoa, this is really freaky reading this. And one of the main characters in my fanatical fiction is called Alpha, and I was just like, oh. So that was bending my head, but it was so great to have these Daleks. They had a caste system. Only police officer Daleks were allowed guns, and the rest of them were all peacemongerers. And it was just lovely. They built this wonderful society, and they wanted to help humans. And they're like, "Hey, humans, we're not going to kill you because we've just saved your ship and but you can't leave here because we don't want more humans finding out about us because you guys will kill us." And the humans take that as they're going to kill them instead. And there's this woman who was the one who actually let the Daleks onto the ship. Her name's Carol, and she has this complete breakdown, and she's like, the Daleks are going to experiment on us, and she mentions it about 3 or 4 times within the narrative of the story, and she finds this statue, and oh man, this really hurt me in my heartstrings here. They built a statue of the second Doctor.
Yep. And
I was like, oh, and then like she goes ahead and she ruins this temple, and it was sad for me because it was like, she was desecrating someone's cultural heritage. And I mean, like, that sort of stuff annoys me. It's like when you find out that terrorists destroy old museums and stuff, and you're just like, what the hell? You were destroying cultural history. What's wrong with you? And so this really got me on a personal level when she did that, and she throws it at the Daleks. And then the Daleks open fire on them, and they create this war. And amongst this, the Doctor tries to figure things out, but he betrays Alpha, not in like a I'm going to kill you betrayal, but in a betrayal of trust with Alpha. Yeah. And Alpha doesn't really know how to react to this. And there's this being, this sort of Cthulhu-esque entity.
More Gravemind-esque.
Yeah, Gravemind. Halo fans will know, Gravemind-esque entity. And he's kind of a smooth talker, really.
Yeah, but in like not a cool way. Like,
not a cool way.
He's kind of like he reminds me of the Master, actually a lot in the way that he speaks.
Very, very, very gentlemanly and very, very cool-witted. And he sort of forces Alpha's hand. He forces Alpha's emotions, and Alpha gives in to anger. And then Alpha says, exterminate. And I just, man, that hurt, man. Like, it was crazy because, like, these Daleks were really, really trying to create a Dalek utopia. They were trying to be peaceful. They were trying to be calm. And they were part of the Doctor's past. That was something the Doctor had tried to achieve, and he had achieved it. Like, hundreds of years later, the Doctor finds out he actually achieved it. He had managed to create a utopian society of Daleks. And then they are taken away from him.
Daleks that actually would have been good. In a race that would have been good. Like, actually properly pure.
Yeah.
Like, they would have been way better than the human race ends up being. They would have been better than any other race in the universe. And the Doctor had created that by simply making Daleks good.
Yeah.
He succeeded in doing that, and he messes it all up.
Yeah.
Not by any fault of his own as well.
And it's the thing is that the humans start attacking them, and it's interesting because Alpha he's a product of the human factor, and then he sees up close what the humans are doing to his people, and I love the animation because it shows them it shows the humans in the city as like animals. Like, especially the image that I can't remember his name. What was his name? The Gravemind character? Cataphobos. So Cataphobos, where he shows the image of what's happening in the town, because he's got very, very powerful psionic energy, and he manages to, just the way that they capture that image, and if I can make that the thumbnail, I definitely will, because it's just like the monstrosity of mankind. And it wasn't on the nose like things like Avatar, and the James Cameron film and stuff are about how evil humans are. This was just showing us reacting the way we react. It was a natural reaction that humans naturally have to these situations to fight
so
back.
We're afraid and we fight back.
And the thing is that the Daleks didn't want to, and like the scene where like my heart just started sinking infinitesimally was the first time they strike a Dalek, which was that Dalek that's just trying to have a conversation about him and explaining to the guy that this is our church.
Yeah.
Right? He's saying to him, no, this is our place of worship. And he attacks him. And I was just like, well, that's disgusting. And that's the stuff that, like, on the media we fight against, us right now. And it's very sort of topical. Because, like, at the moment we're fighting against people who take away, cultural heritage with violence, and we're against it. But like that just that image of him taking it because this being he was talking to wasn't human, that isn't right, man. And I was just like, wow, this nailed it. This has become my favorite Dalek story, and I don't know if anything will top it. Then again, we've got a lot more Marvel to go through, so maybe something will. But just this knocks it out of the park for me. I think this is the best story out of the 4 we're covering this week. So I'm sorry that I took it, but I wanted to, and I'm so sorry. But the artwork by Lee Sullivan is out of this park. Lee Sullivan is an incredible comic artist. The work that he's done for some of the other series, his Avengers covers and the like. And the person who wrote this, I believe, was Alan Barnes. I might be wrong.
Yes.
No, Scott Gray, actually.
Alan Barnes was an editor of it.
Yeah. Alan Barnes is the guy who created Izzy, though.
Yes.
So Scott Gray wrote this. He still works for Marvel as well. I would definitely want to read more of this guy's work because this was just incredible. It knocked it out of the park. It showed the Daleks in a way where they were relatable, and I think that's hard to do with like pretty much pepper pot death machines with plunger hands.
Yeah.
To make them relatable it's difficult to do, but they do it. They show these Daleks as more human than the humans because they had the human factor, and that was just completely and utterly encapsulated in the story. Is there anything else you'd like to add there, Harriet Scallion?
Well, while we were talking, I did look up. Otago is actually a New Zealand word.
Yeah.
So yeah, he very likely may have been from New Zealand, at least in descendancy, which makes sense. So there's that. Yay, New Zealand, we're in stuff.
Woo!
But yeah, the story is it does kind of make you feel really bad about being a human being.
Yeah.
That is our natural reactions to stuff. Basically, I guess that's kind of a lot of what Doctor Who tries to put on the table is that sometimes humans can be not the nicest of people.
Yeah.
And that we should really try to be a bit nicer. And that's what you should really take away from the story, is that if we can learn to actually look before we leap, then maybe we might not end up destroying some really bad stuff. Even at the end of it, when they've destroyed this, there's still that guy who was like trying to like quip about how bad that the Daleks are.
Yeah.
And then Izzy's just like, no, you shut up.
Yeah.
And she was totally going to beat him up, and she should have, because that was not cool.
Yeah. And it's so brutal because the Daleks kill themselves to save the humans.
Yeah, that they actually sacrificed themselves to save humanity from this big alien, and we still hated them. Some of us still hated them. It should make you feel bad about being human, but it should make you want to be better.
Exactly, and that's what the Doctor's about. Is about trying to make us better. Oh, weapons, according to Davros. So, yeah, it's just, oh man, I think the story will stick with me for a while, especially since the Doctor doesn't really save the humans at the end. He just hops in the TARDIS and leaves them. He's like, nope, goodbye.
Like, you guys suck, go away.
The ending directly leads into next week's story. I'm looking forward to that.
Oh man, that really sets some stuff off. It's
Do you think they're the Threshold?
I don't think they are. I think they're in the same brand though.
Yeah.
Looks like someone that Destry went and ticked off.
Yes, it is. It's the people that Destry were worried about in her first appearance.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to next week. It's really sad that this is Izzy's last outing. This volume. Again, you can pick this up via Comixology. And so I'm actually going to do that. I actually did that like earlier this week. Actually, went straight to Comixology and grabbed me some things. I'm going to grab me some physical copies from right next to Harriet Skelly's house. I'm looking forward to that.
Yes.
And we'll move into the Shadow Trader. Harriet Skelly, take us away. And also his name is Salim, not Selim, as Sophie Aldred kept saying. I know.
That was great. Actually, was her pronunciation of Salim. It was. She clearly just didn't know any better. But I'm sad that no one at Big Finish tried to correct her. But yeah, it's very interesting, this story. It definitely falls into the Seventh Doctor category, with like this weird like pseudoscience magic thing going on, particularly with the realm of shadows, where apparently our shadows are like our sense of purpose. It seems to come across in this. That's what
you might even say that our shadows are our kings.
Yeah. Good job. Yeah, it does have that weird. I'm really gonna have to find a way of having like trying to fit this into class actually, because this actually would fit perfectly into that. That shadows seem to be a part of us, sort of like if anyone's read you can't just have watched the Golden Compass. You actually have to have read the Golden Compass, read the Golden Compass and its other parts of the novel. That the shadows seem to be our demons, or daemons, however you want to pronounce it, where they are sort of alternate dimensional parts of us that also fit into our psyche in the way that they are our want to do something, our purpose in life. They are the things that drive us forward, which is interesting that they're always behind us and when we look into the light. But it's very pseudoscience-y in that way, to the point where like apparently the greatest creations that we have in human history are ones that we've attached a shadow to. That a shadow trader shows up and basically cuts someone's soul off, sticks it into this great creation that we've made, an architectural creation or a ship or anything like that, and basically blesses the ship with this shadow that makes it so much more than just being an architectural design or an architectural masterpiece.
Yeah.
I guess it kind of suits it, because they make a good argument for it, actually, where the way that we treat that object is different because of its soul that it has, basically, and not necessarily a shadow. That because of that addition, a supernatural entity makes us treat it differently, like the way we treat the Sphinx compared to just one of the pyramids, or the way that we treat great ships, not necessarily for have done anything, but just because they're great.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that the Titanic had a very cursed shadow added to it. But anyway,
apparently 2 doctors were on it, so
yeah. So I guess that's probably it. The man without a shadow. That also kind of intrigued me as well, that the 7th Doctor says that he doesn't have a shadow, but then goes on to say that people without shadows seem to lack purpose and lack direction in life, which seems to fit the Doctor quite well, actually.
Yeah.
That he doesn't really have a purpose or a direction in life. He just sort of flows from place to place, doing whatever he sees fit. So I guess that kind of works for him. But the interesting thing about this story is it doesn't just filter off these facts or anything like that. It filters them through Salim, who is he's basically a trainee for this shadow trader business. He is the next in line to take over the family business of trading in shadows, who just seem to be like a sort of culty sort of thing, where they have obviously managed to track down or have probably given some sort of technology which allows them to cut shadows off of people, probably in a sort of multi-dimensional sort of way, where they like cut off the connection to the shadow, much in the same way as in the Golden Compass, where there is a machine that cuts demons away from their person, and it's sort of a fantastic lights show, apparently. So this is an interesting concept that from basically the dawn of civilization we've had this technology to do that. Obviously, just we picked them up somewhere. Some alien trader showed up and tried to do this. I guess that's also why they tried to bring in the Egyptian part of this. I imagine that probably the Osirians were the ones that gave us this.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. The Osirians.
That they gave us this technology for that for some reason. I'm guessing it has something to do with the imprisonment of Sutek as well. Not obviously not talked about, but we can deduce this. Anyway, this information is being delivered to us as it's being delivered to Salim from his dad, and basically his dad is soon going to die, and would like to give this information on to his eldest son. He would have liked to have given it to his other son, but he wasn't old enough to do so. So basically he's just trying to tell Salim to just learn the stuff, have a better child, give it to that child.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't too happy about Salim, which is kind of a really crappy way to think of your own son. So not a good dad. Not the world's greatest dad award. On that. So yeah, there's some interesting things in that, so it's very interesting if you actually go and listen to it. I'm not going to give you a whole description of what he says, but it is like the whole first half of the short trip is them explaining this. It's a very interesting ideology and feelings behind it, but then the 7th Doctor sort of goes and expands on that as well by saying that back in the old Egyptian days and during most of our civilization, that they'd existed and that they had a way better, well, not necessarily a better, but a different culture to them as well that has expanded over the time, where they used to actually like trade the same way that I guess devils trade sort of deal. Like I'm guessing that's the idea that they were going for in this, that the shadow traders used to trade their shadow or their soul in exchange for like goods and stuff. I guess that sort of makes sense, that would be the idea, that people weren't really sure what they were losing when they were selling off their shadow, but it drove away their purpose, I guess. So I guess that makes sense to me. But the real kicker to this story is when Salim tries to steal the shadow from Ace, and Ace is just like, I'm going to beat you up if you get close to me.
Yeah,
and he's
I
like,
will kick your ass.
he's like, oh, I guess it's kind of a stalemate then. And the Seventh Doctor shows up and is like, well, you actually haven't trapped me because I don't have a shadow for you to steal, so I'm gonna beat you up. And he's like, oh, okay. Drops the music box. Doctor explains everything off to him, that he's basically explains to him exactly what actually happens when a shadow is taken, and then the story ends with Salim having actually given up on his own life and decides he sort of takes that idea that the Seventh Doctor's put on him, and as I said, basically is thinking about taking his own purpose in life, not necessarily his own life, by cutting off his shadow and attaching it to the Defiance, which is the ship that's being built. It's kind of an interesting aspect, really, that he, because of what his upbringing was and how the Seventh Doctor basically talks him down, he basically realizes that he doesn't really feel like he has a purpose in life. So he tries to put himself into something bigger, and I guess that's effectively what being a shadow trader is all about, is putting things into something bigger. And particularly the story that the Doctor tells about the slave shadow that is on the Sphinx, that it makes him feel like that is his purpose, is to put himself on the ship. So it's a kind of bittersweet story, really, and it comes down to it. That idea, the fact that he's basically immediately, the last sentence of this story is him effectively giving up purpose as his shadow leaves on the Defiance. It's kind of interesting that's how it works. I hope shadow traders aren't really a thing, because that would not be nice. But if they are, not willing to give that up. So
no, thank you, ma'am.
Oh, thank you. There is some interesting things about it being the Defiance as well, particularly when it comes to universes that sort of seem to blend in with Doctor Who sometimes, mainly Star Trek, the Defiance being in a couple of universes within that. As soon as I heard the name of it, I just had to look it up. It's a warship in the proper universe, where it's designed to fight the Borg, which is also interesting because the Borg are totally the Cybermen. So we're constantly going to be flipping back through and through when it comes to sci-fi. So who knows? We might even maybe do the podcast about Star Trek. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not giving away anything.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, this is it's a very interesting story. I do recommend it as one of the greater ones of the short trip bits, and it's not a proper really long story like the Seventh Doctor seems to do in his short trips. It's actually bite-sized this time, so that's nice. It's solid work, and Big Finish always seem to do that. So
yes, they do.
We kind of just expect that from them these days. We're going to be really sad one day when they just do it like a mediocre one. It's not gonna be good.
I'll be like, oh. And then I'll just pretend Russell T Davies or Stephen Moffat wrote it. Then be okay. It'll be okay. Alrighty. Okay. Well, I suppose that's us for this week. You can pick this one up as part of the Volume 4 Short Trips box set on Big Finish's website. It's like nothing. I think it's like $8 New Zealand dollars, which is like $5.50 American dollars. So I'd pick it up. You can listen to it for free. I mean, the sound quality is not the greatest, but you can listen to it for free via the Big Finish SoundCloud. And we'll catch you all next week. I'm going to have to, again, find out whether or not we've actually done The Deadly Assassin. Because I certainly hope we haven't, because I want to rewatch that, because that story's just that good.
I think we should just rewatch it anyway.
Let's just do it. Alrighty, well, we'll catch you all next week.
Alright.